Well, hey everybody, and welcome to This Week with Mr. John. Hey, have you ever gotten jiggy with it? Have you ever danced like nobody's watching? Have you ever celebrated something that maybe you thought wouldn't happen, or something that was because you like it so much you just had to celebrate? Well, hey, maybe it's like getting up on Christmas and you see, like, you've been wanting this Xbox 3, the newest and latest and greatest Xbox to come out, and you've been wanting it, and you put it on your Christmas list, and you've been ripping up the packages that you think are that, and it's underwear, oh, it's socks, oh, it's clothes, and you didn't get that Xbox, and then there's one more package, and you unwrap, you've kind of given up, and you open it up, and all of a sudden you realize there it is, there's my Xbox. And you just scream in excitement and joy, and maybe you get up and do a little dance, right? Well, King David has a time when he does something very similar. You see, there was this thing called the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark is where the 10 Commandments had been placed. They built this specifically to hold God's word. And it was a living representation of God. Everywhere they took it, they all always carried like the Ark in front to represent that God is coming in. Well, before David's time, the Ark got moved from place to place because other tribes that weren't the Israelites, who did not follow the one true God, would try to take the Ark. If they took the Ark, they felt like they destroyed the Israelites' God. So the Israelites would move it from place to place, and it would get moved here and there. Well, David wanted the Ark to be where he was at, where he was living. And finally came the time where he decides to send some people out to bring the Ark back home. And when the Ark comes into the town, they have trumpets blaring and drums beating, and David gets so overjoyed that he rips off down to his undergarments and starts to dance in the streets. He's so excited that God has returned to his town, to his village, that he dances, he gets jiggy with it, he dances like nobody's watching, he's just celebrating. Now, there were some people, mainly like his wife Michelle, who decided that this was not how a king was to act. This was not kingly in any way, and it disgusted her. But David was not going to hide his joy because God was with him. Now, I'm going to talk about one of my passions that made me cry, made me sing, made me dance, made me scream in excitement. And as I've talked about in the past, I am a huge New England Patriots fan. Now, I grew up a New England Patriot. I became a fan at around 6 or 7 years old just because I fell in love with the logo on their helmet, and I've been a loyal fan ever since. But from the time I started liking the Patriots, for the longest time, they were not good. They had some good years where they made the playoffs, but they always got beat in the playoffs. And then there was like Super Bowl 20 when they went up against the Chicago Bears and got destroyed, might I say. And then in 97, they went to the Super Bowl again against Green Bay, and they got beat again. And it was kind of like, well, we always seem to have a team that just is not quite good enough to make it and win the Super Bowl. Well, in the year 2001, the Patriots had a pretty good season. They had this new up-and-coming quarterback named Tom Brady at the time, and they kind of were making their way through the season, playing really good, and they got into the playoffs. And they won their first playoff game, won their next playoff game, and they kept going on, and they got to the Super Bowl. Well, they were going up against this team called the St. Louis Rams, and they were called the greatest team on turf. They were super good football team. They had won the Super Bowl the year before and made it back to the Super Bowl, and the Patriots were the team that was not going to win the Super Bowl. They were huge underdogs. Well, Bill Belichick, their coach, devised a plan, and the Patriots jumped out to a 17-3 lead. And it's going late into the third quarter, and as a Patriot fan, I'm kind of like sitting on edge. I'm like sitting there hoping and hoping, and then the Rams come back and they score a touchdown, 17-10. And then it goes on a little bit more, and it gets late into the fourth quarter, and the Rams score again, tying the game at 17-17 with very little time left on the clock. Now, it was funny because even the announcer of the game said, yeah, the Patriots, because there was such little time left in the game, he was like, yeah, the Patriots should just probably take a couple knees and just end the game, take it into overtime. Well, that wasn't the plan at the time. The Patriots decided to go ahead and try to drive down the field. And with some good pass plays and getting out of bounds, which was critical because they were out of timeouts, had to get out of bounds on every play. So they kept moving down the field, and they got lined up for a field goal. 7 seconds left on the clock, and they bring out their kicker, Adam Vinatieri. He lines up, and to me, this was like the longest period of time in my life at that point. And I imagine that's how David felt. The time when the ark was on its way to him. That this had to be like this long. Because when you anticipate something that you haven't had in a long time, it kind of seems to take forever. Well, this kick seemed to take forever. And even he hikes the ball. He places it down. Perfect hike, perfect placement. And the kick goes up. And it goes up, and it just seemed to take forever to travel through. Now, in actual time, it went from 7 seconds, and the clock ticked down to 4 seconds. The kick was actually 3 to 4 seconds long to go, and it went through the goalpost. And the clock continued to tick until time was off the clock. The Patriots had won the Super Bowl, and I got jiggy with it. I screamed at the top of my lungs, we did it! Like I had any part to do with it. I didn't play in the game at all, but I felt like I was a part of it because I've been a fan forever, and it was something that I was looking so forward to. I wanted so much. It's like that Xbox you want for Christmas. I wanted it so bad that they won the Super Bowl, and I just reacted. I actually cried at that moment. I danced, I laughed, I screamed, I went running around the house. It was like the most joyous thing that had happened to me at that point. Now, I know it's just a football game, but imagine if God enters your house, the joy you would feel, the dancing you would do. Hey, God is in your house. Let's celebrate. We'll talk to you next week. Versus coming up. Hey, have a great week. We'll see you later. I'm still a Patriots fan, even though I live in Chief Kingdom. But what are you going to do? Love you. See you later. Bye.
For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. Isaiah 55:8.